is 11 o'clock at night. You should be sleeping.
But your mind is running. Something from today that did not go right. Something from tomorrow that you cannot stop thinking about. Something that has been sitting in the background for weeks, and tonight it will not stay in the background.
And you try to describe what you are feeling to yourself or to someone you trust, and the only words you have are, I am stressed. I am worried. I am nervous.
But what you are actually experiencing is so much more specific than that. There is a tension in your chest, a kind of mental noise that will not quieten, a sense of something unresolved that keeps pulling your attention back.
And the English you have for it, stressed, worried, nervous, it does not capture any of that specificity.
Today, we change that. With every English phrase you need to describe stress and anxiety, accurately, specifically, completely.
Not just the words, but the sentences, the conversations, the phrases for telling someone what is happening inside you, and the phrases for responding when someone tells you.
Because being able to talk about your stress and anxiety in English, precisely and honestly, it does not just improve your English. It actually helps with the stress and anxiety itself.
Stay with us. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Speak Unstoppable, the podcast where we help you speak English naturally and confidently through real, honest conversations.
I'm John.
And I'm Maria. So happy you're here with us today.
B1 to B2 level English. Before we continue, please subscribe to Speak Unstoppable right now. One tap. New episodes every single day. We are here for you every day.
Subscribed? Good. Now, let's talk about something every single person listening to this has experienced, and give you the English to talk about it properly.
How are you feeling today, Maria?
Honestly, I feel a kind of productive tension, which is exactly the difference between useful stress and damaging anxiety, and something we will explore fully today.
Thank you for being here. Let's go.
Okay, I want to ask you something practical.
Go ahead.
Imagine you are at work or in a conversation with someone important to you, and they ask, "You seem stressed. Are you okay?"
What do you say?
For most English learners, the answer is one of three things. Yes, I am fine. Or, yes, I am a little stressed. Or, yes, work is difficult.
And none of these answers actually communicate what is happening.
None of them describe the specific nature of the stress, its source, its physical quality, how long it has been there, how it is affecting you.
And the person asking, who genuinely wanted to understand, receives an answer that gives them almost nothing real to respond to.
Today, you get the English for the real answer, the one that actually communicates what is happening. That allows a real conversation to begin. That lets someone who cares about you actually see what you are carrying.
And you get the English to respond when someone else gives you the real answer, so the conversation can go somewhere genuine. First, an important distinction. Because stress and anxiety are related, but they are not the same. And English has different vocabulary for each.
Stress, in English, is typically a response to an external cause. Something real is happening. There are too many demands. A deadline exists. A difficult situation is present.
Stress is the feeling produced by real, present external pressure. It usually reduces when the external pressure reduces.
Anxiety, in English, is typically more internal. It can exist without a specific external cause. It often involves worry about what might happen, future-oriented, uncertainty-based, sometimes disconnected from any specific real threat.
And this distinction matters in conversation. Because when you say, I feel stressed, you are communicating that something external is putting pressure on you. When you say, I feel anxious, you are communicating an internal state of worry and uncertainty.
And most people, in real life, experience both simultaneously. Stress from the real demands. Anxiety about what might happen as a result of those demands.
Understanding the distinction and using the words precisely, it communicates much more clearly to the person you are talking with.
Okay, the stress vocabulary. Much richer than most English courses teach.
Instead of just stressed, try these.
Overwhelmed. When the demands exceed what you can manage. I feel completely overwhelmed. There is more to do than I have time or energy for.
Under pressure. When specific external demands are creating urgency. I have been under a lot of pressure at work recently. The deadlines are unrealistic.
Stretched thin. When you have too many responsibilities and not enough resources. I am stretched thin right now. I am trying to manage too many things simultaneously.
Burned out. When sustained stress has depleted your energy and motivation. I think I am heading toward burnout. I have been running on empty for months.
Snowed under. An informal expression for having more work than you can handle. I am completely snowed under this week. I cannot add anything else.
At breaking point, when you are close to not being able to manage anymore. I feel like I am approaching breaking point. Something needs to change.
Frazzled. Exhausted and anxious from too much activity. I feel frazzled, like I have been moving at full speed for too long, and I cannot think clearly anymore.
And the phrases for describing the physical quality of stress.
My shoulders have been carrying so much tension. I wake up, and they are already tight.
I have been clenching my jaw without realizing it. A sign that the stress is in my body.
I feel a kind of constant background noise in my mind, like there is always something running, even when I am not actively thinking about it.
My sleep has been affected. I fall asleep, but wake up too early with my mind already going.
Now anxiety. And this is where the vocabulary gets more nuanced, because anxiety has many specific forms in English.
General anxiety. I have been feeling anxious. There is a kind of underlying worry that I cannot quite locate or resolve.
Anticipatory anxiety. Anxiety about something coming. I feel anxious about tomorrow. I keep imagining how it could go wrong.
Social anxiety. Anxiety specifically about social situations. I feel anxious in large groups. I worry about saying the wrong thing or being judged.
Health anxiety. Worry about physical health. I have been feeling some health anxiety recently. Every physical sensation becomes something I analyze.
Performance anxiety. Anxiety about how you will do in something. I feel performance anxiety before important presentations. Even when I am well prepared, the anxiety is there.
And the physical language of anxiety?
My heart rate goes up. Even thinking about it produces a physical response.
I feel a kind of tightness in my chest, like something is compressed in there.
My breathing becomes shallower when I am anxious. I have to consciously breathe more deeply.
There is a specific quality of restlessness, like I cannot quite settle. Cannot quite be still.
I feel on edge, like I am waiting for something bad to happen even when nothing specific is threatening.
On edge, this is an important English expression. It means in a state of nervous anticipation. Alert in an uncomfortable way. I have felt on edge all day. Something does not feel right, but I cannot name it. Okay, the conversations. Because knowing the vocabulary is one thing. Using it in real conversations with real people is the actual goal.
Category 1. Starting the conversation.
I need to be honest. I have not been okay lately. I have been feeling, and I think saying it out loud might help.
Can I talk to you about something? I have been carrying a lot of stress, and I think I need someone to hear it.
I want to share something I have been experiencing. I feel anxious about, and I cannot seem to quieten it.
Category 2. Describing what the stress or anxiety feels like.
It feels like there is always something running in the background. Even when I am resting, I am not really resting.
The anxiety is not always about something specific. Sometimes it is just a general sense of unease that I cannot locate.
I feel stretched between too many things, like I am giving partial attention to everything and full attention to nothing.
The stress has been physical as well as mental. My body is carrying it. In my shoulders, my jaw, my sleep.
Category 3. Asking for what you need.
I am not looking for solutions right now. I just need someone to listen.
It would really help if you could just hear me without trying to fix it.
I need some practical help with, because the load is genuinely more than I can carry alone right now.
I think I need to talk to someone professionally about this. The anxiety has been consistent for too long.
Category 4. Responding when someone shares their stress or anxiety.
Thank you for telling me. That takes courage, and I want you to know I am taking this seriously.
I can hear that you are carrying a lot. I do not want to minimize that.
Is there something specific I can do? Or would it help more to just talk?
You do not have to manage this alone. I am here.
And now, the English for what you do about stress and anxiety. Because managing these feelings is as important as naming them.
Phrases for describing your coping strategies.
I have been trying to create more boundaries at work. Saying no to things that are not essential.
I have found that physical movement helps. Even a short walk changes the quality of my thinking.
I have been trying to reduce the mental noise by writing things down. Getting the thoughts out of my head and onto paper.
I have been practicing deliberate breathing, specifically, breathing out longer than I breathe in. It actually helps.
I have been trying to address the source rather than just manage the symptoms. The stress will not reduce until the situation changes.
I have been speaking to someone professional about the anxiety. It has been more useful than I expected.
And the vocabulary for talking about recovery from stress.
I am starting to feel more like myself again. The pressure has reduced slightly, and I can feel the difference.
I feel cautiously better. Aware that the situation has not fully resolved, but aware that I have more capacity than last week.
I am learning to recognize the early signs before it becomes overwhelming. Catching it earlier means managing it more effectively.
And finally, the most directly relevant application. The stress and anxiety that specifically surround English communication.
Because many of our listeners do not just experience general stress and anxiety, they experience specific anxiety about English, about speaking, about being judged. about making mistakes.
And having the English to describe this specific anxiety, it is one of the most practically important things we can give you today.
I feel anxious about speaking English in certain situations, particularly when the stakes feel high.
There is a specific kind of performance anxiety that activates before I have to speak English with people I want to impress.
I feel on edge in English conversations, like I am monitoring everything I say for mistakes, while also trying to think about what to say next.
The anxiety makes the English harder. When I am calm, the words come more naturally. When I am anxious, I struggle even with things I know.
And the most important phrase of the entire episode, for your English and for your life.
I feel anxious about this. And I am doing it anyway. Because the only way to reduce the anxiety is through the experience that shows me it is manageable.
Say that with us.
I feel anxious about this. And I am doing it anyway.
The anxiety is real, and the action is the answer. Can I say something about what naming stress and anxiety actually does, beyond communicating it to someone else?
Please.
When you name a feeling precisely, when you find the specific word for what is happening, something changes in the brain.
The act of labeling an emotional state, researchers call it affect labeling, it measurably reduces the intensity of that state, not because the word solves the problem. Because naming activates the prefrontal cortex, the rational brain, which reduces the amygdala activation, the threat response.
In simple terms, naming your stress or anxiety, out loud or in writing, with specific words, it actually makes the stress and anxiety slightly less intense. Not gone, but less.
And the more precisely you name it, the more specific the vocabulary, the more effective this reduction is.
Which is one of the most practical reasons to develop feeling vocabulary, not just for communication, for your own experience of your own emotions.
And for English learners, this is directly applicable. When you feel anxious about English, name it. Specifically. Out loud.
I feel performance anxiety right now, anticipatory worry about being judged for my English level. That naming, it reduces the intensity. It creates distance. It makes the attempt more possible.
Words are not just communication tools. They are emotional regulation tools. And the more of them you have, in English, the more equipped you are to regulate your own experience as well as communicate it to others.
Remember this. You are not just learning English vocabulary for stress and anxiety. You are learning to regulate your own emotional experience through language. And that is one of the most powerful things language can do.
Language regulates experience. And more language, better language, regulates it better. Word tour time.
Word 1. Apprehensive. Feeling worry or anxiety about a future event. Anticipatory fear without certainty that the feared thing will happen. Example 1. She felt apprehensive before the English conversation, not convinced anything would go wrong, but unable to shake the worry that something might. Example 2. Apprehensive is more precise than nervous. It implies that the worry is specifically about what might happen, rather than a general agitated state.
Word 2. On edge. In a state of tense, uncomfortable alertness, waiting for something difficult without knowing when it will arrive. Example 1. He had felt on edge all week, a general sense of unease that he could not locate or resolve, despite knowing nothing specific was immediately wrong. Example 2. Many English learners feel on edge in formal English conversations, hypervigilant about mistakes in a way that actually makes mistakes more likely by consuming attention that should go to communication.
Word 3. Frazzled. Exhausted and somewhat disoriented from sustained stress and overactivity. Example 1. She felt completely frazzled by Thursday. Too many demands over too many days had worn down her capacity to think clearly or respond calmly. Example 2. Practicing English when frazzled is much less effective than short practice when rested. The frazzled brain has less capacity for the cognitive demands of language production.
Word 4. Affect labeling. The practice of naming emotional states in specific language, shown to reduce the intensity of the labeled emotion. Example 1. Affect labeling, the simple practice of saying, "I feel anxious about this" out loud, measurably reduces the anxiety's intensity by engaging the prefrontal cortex. Example 2. Use affect labeling for English anxiety. Name it specifically before attempting the difficult conversation. The naming itself makes the attempt more manageable.
Word 5. Anticipatory. Happening or experienced in advance of the actual event. Related to what is imagined before something occurs. Example 1. The anticipatory anxiety about the presentation was worse than the presentation itself, as it almost always is. Example 2. Anticipatory English anxiety, the worry before the conversation, is almost always more intense than the actual conversation proves to warrant.
Word 6. Hypervigilant. In a state of heightened alertness and sensitivity to potential threats. Excessively watchful and on guard. Example 1. When highly stressed, she became hypervigilant, interpreting neutral events as threatening and reacting to things that did not warrant a reaction. Example 2. English performance anxiety produces a kind of hypervigilance, excessive monitoring of every word, every pronunciation, every grammatical choice that consumes the cognitive resources needed for natural communication.
One thing this week. The next time you feel stressed or anxious, in any situation, try to name it more precisely than stressed or anxious. What specific kind of stress? Overwhelmed? Stretched thin? At breaking point? Frazzled?
What specific kind of anxiety? Anticipatory? Social? Performance? On edge?
And then, use one phrase from today to express it. To yourself, in writing. Or, to someone you trust. In English.
Here is your sentence template.
What I am actually feeling right now is not just stressed or anxious. More precisely, I feel, name the specific word. And the reason is, name the specific situation. And what I need is, name what would actually help.
Say it out loud. With your real feeling. Your real reason. Your real need.
What I actually feel is, specific word. The reason is, specific situation. What I need is, specific help.
Mean every word. And use it this week. In a real moment. In English.
Comment challenge.
What is one stress or anxiety you have been carrying that you have never expressed precisely in English?
Write it using this sentence.
Right now, I am feeling. Write your specific stress or anxiety word in the comments. Because write your specific reason in the comments. And what would actually help is write your real need in the comments.
Write it. In English. In the comments. as specifically as you can.
Because naming it precisely, in public, in English, it is affect labeling at its most powerful. And it will make the feeling slightly less heavy the moment you write it.
We read every comment. Please give this a like.
New episode every single day on Speak Unstoppable. Thank you for being here.
Language regulates experience.
More language, better language, regulates it better.
Bye-bye, everyone.